Story 1. The truth hurts. Certain of betrayal, my wife just cheated on me. Should I give her a chance to explain, or is this the end? I, M40, think that last night my wife, F43, cheated on me. We have been married 10 years, together for 13. One day, she went out to buy some stuff for the home, which is weird. She hates doing that, and she went with a male friend that I don't know. She stayed out for several hours. It was weird because she spent the day before getting ready like it was a date. And when she was gone, I grew suspicious and checked around the room and found out that she had put on her sexy underwear meant just for our bedroom. I do all the childcare, so I put the kids to bed. She showed up after and refused to tell me most of the details of the man she was with, and told me that in order to stay in our marriage she needed some time that was just for her. She only told me his first name, and when I thought back, I had seen that name pop up in her texts for the last several months. I didn't think anything of it at the time because it's the name of a work friend she has and they often need to reach out to one another after hours for big projects. I think that she has been slowly building up the courage to cheat on me, and over the last 2 months our sex life has collapsed to zero and she has grown extremely hostile without any reason given, seemingly out of nowhere. Last week she told me she doesn't want to be married and it has nothing to do with me. An outrageous assertion. Before everyone says I don't do enough as a husband, I do 100% of the childcare, shopping, housework, and I work from home, though she is the primary breadwinner. I am emotionally available and mature, and I don't have a temper. I stay relatively fit and am attractive enough. I am not controlling. I don't object at all to her having male friends, but this screams affair. I am utterly shattered and I feel like I am dying. I don't even know how to talk to her about it. She has been so angry lately that communicating with her is a nightmare. This is a throwaway account. I am too ashamed to post it to my main. I want to divorce her, but that would break apart my children's home. If I file for divorce, would that make me the asshole? Update. My wife and I talked. She admitted that she had been talking to this guy for a while and had intended to have a sexual encounter, but found him to be so lacking she decided not to. Apparently he had emotions and wanted a relationship, so she talked with him, bought some of his art and left. She is still going to hang out with him, but she isn't interested in him anymore, apparently. I asked if she wanted an open relationship. She said yes. I asked if we would ever have sex again. She said probably not. She said she just doesn't want to be in a relationship with anyone or have sex with anyone anymore, but if she does decide to, she doesn't want to feel caged, especially after her most recent disappointment, but she wants to keep our family together. So I have a permanent hall pass and I don't ever have to explain where I was or who I was with. She said that is only fair and I agreed, and she wants the same. I can't force her to stay married or monogamous, and I don't want a divorce. So we are roommates now with a legally binding lifetime contract and joint finances. And apparently I am now in an open relationship. A very sad day for me, but maybe not the worst outcome. I assume a lot of people will say she was lying, but it sounded honest, and for the first time in months she wasn't mad at me. She was being direct, and whether she cheated or not wouldn't change anything, because she had intended to and had emotionally cheated, so that trust is gone either way. So I was right, sort of, and now my marriage is over, sort of. And that's just how life goes, I guess. I will need some time to process this. Feel free to comment if you like. It has been a rough 3 days. Update number 2. Preamble. So I have decided to treat this post kind of like a journal. You guys have been so helpful and kind, mostly, and it has helped me keep a level head during this process. Thank you all for that. My wife came to me crying. She said she doesn't know why she tried to destroy our life together. She says she loves me so much and I am the perfect husband and she has the perfect life and she just couldn't handle it and tried to destroy it. She has agreed to counseling. She apparently doesn't want to lose me. She says doesn't want anyone else and she wants to do what she needs to for me to forgive her. She says we can keep the marriage open if I want, so I said okay. She asked if I needed to see other people, and I said I didn't know. She said she understood and started crying again. Later she tried to initiate sex, and I stopped her. She had on her sexy undies. Seeing them again made me feel sick. She wore them for another man not even a week ago, trying to destroy our marriage. I feel like all my walls are 100% up right now. My kids noticed her behavior towards me change this morning when I was getting them ready for school. She was very affectionate and said nice things to me. My kids were so happy on the way to school. My daughter said, "I am so glad that mom is being herself again. Isn't that great?" I said, "Yeah, you guys, I am so tired." Update 3. My wife went out again on Friday. This time she seemed really pensive, not excited at all. She stayed out a little longer, but came home at a reasonable hour. If I did not know what she had been up to previously, I would not have been suspicious. I assume she broke up with her boyfriend. Saturday morning she canceled all her future dates of all kinds, everything social was off her calendar, and she replaced them with family activities with me and the kids. She still wouldn't tell me who this man was or discuss him at all. I decided to leave it alone for a while to gather my thoughts. We went on a family trip yesterday. It was fun, and today we are all going to do family games and hang out. My wife's behavior has changed very dramatically, and she is playing the caring wife, saying nice things to me, and sending me positive messages when I am in a different room, touching my arm, all the things. A fairly dramatic shift from the extreme hostility she has been showing me for months. But I have been badly burned, so I couldn't trust it. I decided that I was calm enough to figure out who this guy was. So I went looking, and with the help of a dear friend, we figured it out. See, she had purchased something from him, and that was enough information to figure out who he was, how they met, and how this all began. Now I am going to be vague, as this would maybe be identifying, and I don't need that in my life, especially if I plan on divorcing. But he followed her on a social media service and she didn't follow him back. He never once posted publicly on her social media, and she never liked or commented on any of his stuff. My wife's social media contains pictures of me and our children. Almost exclusively of our children, a couple pictures of me, and only a handful of pictures of my wife. For complicated reasons, her social media has a larger following than most personal social media accounts, which made finding him a real pain in the ass. This piece of shit saw my kids and me and my wife and thought, I bet those kids would love 2 Christmases. That's the guy my wife cheated on me with. He is older than me, by more than a decade, but very fit, and very tall. Like a fucking meme. The worst part, she had not blocked him. So it isn't over, it is just on the back burner. I have decided not to mention it. I don't want her to hide it better. I want to know what's going on as I collect evidence for filing for divorce. I don't need evidence, but for my own peace of mind, and so that I can grieve, I will finish constructing the puzzle that is my wife's infidelity. I will also focus on self-care, and stay away from vices. I could definitely see myself getting drunk and high every night in response to this. So I should not do that. I can't file just yet, for complicated financial reasons, but I will be keeping my appointment with the divorce lawyer to explore my options. Until then, we will see. I have zero trust in my wife. I never thought I would find myself in this position. I don't know what I will do afterwards. I haven't dated in almost 15 years. How does it even work now? Thank you to all the members of the community who have reached out to me, even the mean ones. All of you have taken the time to engage with me when I could not be anything but self-centered in my own grief, and I appreciate you. I will continue updating as I go. Part 3. I decided to go full nuclear. Fuck her reputation, fuck Lewis, fuck Joanna, fuck everybody. They all treated me like I was a joke. All these years lying to my face, betraying me in every way. At the time of my last posting I had only gone through the Telegram messages. That second phone of hers had email accounts dating back to before we were dating. It had texts between her and Joanna. It had Reddit accounts I didn't know about. This bitch has been facilitating her cheating since day one. I still remember the time Flora said she was going to lunch with Joanna only for Joanna to show up at the house to drop something off. Sneaky bitch can think on her feet because she totally sold me on her lies. Faking that she forgot they were meeting and needed to hustle over to the cafe. How could I be so fucking naive? I've figured out through all this that Lewis and Flora began having sex days before I asked her out, and never stopped. They have been having an affair for 16 years, right under my nose. He has dated others, gotten married, and divorced in that time. We've hung out countless times. We're each other's best man. She has been with at least a dozen other men during that span, I'm sure more than that. Every fucking teaching conference she ever went to, it looks like she hooked up with someone or brought someone with her. The videos are literally disgusting. She has pics, vids, sexting saved all over this device. She had a video of some fucking asshole finishing all over her engagement ring while she's wearing it. It's dated 3 days after I proposed. The most painful part, there are messages between her and Lewis that imply he may be the father of Rachel. I took my kids to get DNA tests finally last week. I wasn't going to, but the worry got to me. I have to know. I don't know what I will do if they are just side effects of her infidelity. They aren't happy with me anyway, neither is my family. They don't think I should have gone nuclear. What good does it do now? They said. Fuck that. Everyone should know what kind of woman she really was. I'm not protecting her image, listening to people say how wonderful of a person she was. She wasn't, she was just a conniving whore. I posted everywhere. I put together hundreds of texts, messages, pics, censored, voice recording, Everything I could into one big file. Then I posted it on all of socials, and all of Flora's. I tagged everyone I could. Louis and Joanna for sure, even highlighted parts for everyone. A few other coworkers and friends who fucked her as well. Didn't want anyone to feel left out. Family, friends, I even tagged the school page. That has me on administrative leave for the time being. It also appears there's quite an investigation going on now. Firings are on the horizon as it looks like school grounds may have been used at times. I don't give a fuck what happens to that place. I'm leaving. I already made up my mind. I'm not staying in Eagle. I'm going to go far, far from here. At least I got the bitch's life insurance money. Once I get the DNA results back, I'm out. Update 5. Well, it has been a few more weeks and I said I would use this as a journal of sorts, and so I shall. Last weekend I went out dancing. My wife watched the kids and I went out and had an amazing time. I went out by myself and just met and danced with whomever came along. I was out till 2 a.m., and when I got home my wife was waiting for me. She pretended that she had insomnia, but I could tell she wanted to see when I would get home, or if I would come home at all. The more I do things only for myself and my own enjoyment, the more she seems to want to be in the marriage. I gave up so much to make the family stable, raise the kids, keep the home, but never talked about that or made a big deal out of it. Now that I am going out and doing irresponsible and impulsive things, now she likes me again? This is genuinely confusing to me. My wife and I have been working on our communication a lot. Spending most of our downtime hanging out with each other and trying to figure out how to talk to one another and understand one another better. I am already in therapy, and that is helping. My wife has expressed an urgent need for her to attend therapy, but is worried that her current therapist might not be able to help her. I think her current therapist is one of the best in the state, and one of the only ones that my wife respects, so she needs to give her another go. This hesitancy on her part is a small problem now, but might end up being a major problem in the future. I have insisted on us disentangling our finances, so her and I will have our own accounts which will each receive equal money each month, and then a joint account for bills. Plus an additional account for vacation plans. Building up a separate account will free me from years of financial abuse in the form of her insisting on bankrolling her impulsive purchases from the accounts where I am attempting to build up savings. I will begin saving a safety net if I decide to pull the trigger on divorce. All the paperwork is set up, I just need to decide to move forward or not. The relationship is continuing to go well, apart from a couple of minor incidents. My wife has been largely positive. She expresses love for me fairly regularly and even the pitch of her voice is higher and more feminine around me than it had been for the last year. A subtle sign that she is finding me more attractive, which feels nice but doesn't impact me the way it used to. She also seems much happier in general and she hasn't disrespected me once or been unkind or hurtful since she did her turnaround. She clearly was actively sabotaging the marriage, as without her antagonism, the house seems to run great. It could have always been a happy home, but she decided she wanted it to be a nightmare. Having this post has helped remind me of the terrible pain of trusting my wife. I don't like making the same mistakes twice. I am pretty obviously not healed, and some of my sadness has turned to resentment, which is not healthy. But I am still struggling to be just okay, which is harder than it sounds. So that's it for this update. Thank you again everyone for the kind words and support. I will likely be going out dancing every weekend for the near future. I am trying to set up plans for a vacation. My wife wants to do our honeymoon this summer, which we never got to take. We were too poor and too busy being parents to our 2 young kids at the time when we first got married, so we never went on our honeymoon. I believe that she is hoping to rekindle something. We shall see. I haven't done any official dates yet, but I have had some women I have met in my day-to-day activities outside the house flirt pretty aggressively with me. Also, I had a married couple around my age try to pick me up when I was out dancing. I enjoyed it, but my life is already more complicated than I would like, and that seemed like a big bite to take so soon into my little adventure. So I ended up turning them down, but not definitively. We shall see. I have spent the time since initially posting lifting weights pretty aggressively and have lost about 10 pounds of fat and gained some muscle. So I am pretty summer ready. I am going to continue working on myself and doing what I need to in order to meet my own needs. I will update again when I have something to say. Until then, be kind to yourself. Update 6. Father's Day was a nightmare. My wife had a huge emotional outburst right away in the morning, and had been getting pretty angry and reclusive leading up to Father's Day, which is nothing new. It turns out that her mother had called her first thing in the morning to remind her that her father abandoned them, and that she should celebrate her on Father's Day. My wife's response was to have a breakdown and take it out on me, in front of the children and then retreat back to her room. She eventually apologized, but whatever, it wasn't the worst Father's Day ever. Even though I had neither presents, nor cards, nor events nor kind words from my wife, my kids gave me lots of hugs and told me they valued me. So that was lovely. Our marriage had been slowly improving and our discussions have become more frequent and open, though we still have not directly revisited the affair. A couple of days before Father's Day, my wife shared with me her intention to take advantage of our open relationship status at some later date. She told me that she was just not a monogamist like you are. I told her that I wasn't interested in that kind of marriage and she said, "Well, I guess that makes me a slut. Are you gonna stay married to a slut?" To which I replied, "I guess for now." Then she hit me with a really big piece of information. "Well, I thought you weren't monogamous too, for a while." So apparently she thought I had cheated on her. And because our communication is so poor, she decided to make our relationship open as a response. And then went out with this other dude. She just didn't inform me until after she had completely mentally and physically left the relationship. After I initially confronted her about the affair, she realized that I had never been unfaithful, and that's why she had such a huge turnaround. She was having a revenge affair against me, but I had never been unfaithful. She still won't specify what made her think I had an affair. I assume it was when I was spending a ton of time doing volunteer work. There is a lot to explore there, but after that the conversation broke down and she retreated to her room. I don't actually think she is interested in an open marriage. I honestly believe she just had an affair and is still doing this open marriage to justify her behavior to herself. She would absolutely have another affair to prove that this is what she wants, rather than admit that she had an initial affair out of misplaced malice and insecurity. I have been going out on weekends, dancing mostly, and meeting fun people, and she stays up to see when I get home, and is deeply jealous the day before and after. No dates exactly, just meeting people and having fun dancing and talking. Nothing in her behavior says that she would do anything other than collapse completely if I was sexually involved with another person. Clearly she needs to go to individual therapy. I am already seeing an individual therapist, but so far our sessions have been mostly me just explaining what has been going on, since the subject matter is so dense. I don't know if there is a path forward here. I know she has gone back to referring to me as her husband and there is some physical touch reappearing in our relationship, though I am the hesitant one this time. Also, she has clearly done the initial SD and 6-week follow-up doctor's visits. She said she needed a doctor's visit for shots 1 week after the obvious affair, and then went for more shots 6 weeks later, which is the timeline for a follow-up. Claiming a need for different vaccines. Pretty unbelievable coincidence, and I am not stupid enough to believe it. It also shows that she is maintaining a willingness or need to lie to me. I am still getting my duck in a row and planning for a divorce, but honestly it is difficult. In order to not tip my hand I need to keep my guard up, but if I keep my guard up I can't heal the marriage. So here I am, planning for a divorce is the most likely way to make it happen. So that's probably the road I am on. Sorry if this update isn't super focused, I am using it more as a journal, so it might be progressively less focused as time goes on. Thanks to everyone who keeps sharing their insights and support. This has been and continues to be a weird journey, but my anger has largely subsided, and I am starting to feel more myself. And I think a large part of that has been me being able to share this as I go. Update 7, things are finally improving. The man she had an affair with tried to reach out publicly on her social media. He was upset that she had been ignoring his messages. She did not block him, just ghosted him, and made their affair public. I had finally had enough. Being publicly embarrassed was just too much for me. As if the shame and indignity of the affair was not enough. I realize the irony of that, given this post, but I have worked to keep myself anonymous in telling my story. I told my wife to leave for a week. I didn't care where she went, but she wasn't welcome in the house until last night. I told her that she didn't appreciate me, the work I did, the family I built around her or our lives together, and I wanted her to experience a week without it. I wanted her to feel what the divorce would be like. Honestly, I had one of the best weeks I have had all year. I played with my kids without having to deal with her bullshit. I hung out with friends and family without her being there to sabotage anything. My stress was way lower, I was just happier. I could not be any lonelier than I already was, so that remained largely unchanged. I didn't have to coordinate with her while she constantly changed her mind. It was really great. The kids were happier too. They had nightly good nights with their mom. I would never stop them from talking to their mother. They need 2 parents, over the phone, but otherwise their stress level seemed way lower. She stayed in a hotel and worked during the days. She picked up extra shifts for the weekend just to not have free time at the hotel. When she got home yesterday she was extremely huggy, a deeply unusual behavior for her, and this morning she even made me coffee and brought it to me. She gave me several hugs and kisses and told me what an amazing husband and father I am and how much she needs me in her life and misses me. She is so apologetic and will start her therapy now. I know this process is likely to take a long time and have ups and downs throughout, but this is the first time I have any hope for any future together. As an aside, I am hitting the gym a lot, so my physical health is really improving, and the therapy is helping me to figure out what I want and to stand up for myself more effectively. I deserve to be in a relationship that I feel loved and valued in, and if this relationship is not loving, then I need to give myself permission to leave. Not just for the kids, but for me. Having individual needs is okay. That is something I need to work on. Update 8. I have had a couple requests for an update, so here it goes. The wife and I are slowly growing our communication. I have been going out more on my own, exercising a ton. Honestly, I haven't looked this good in a decade. When I go out I have been getting a lot of female attention, which feels nice. Never had people ask me for my Insta before, but that's apparently how young women tell you that they are interested. Things are stabilized, but the marriage is either dead or on life support, and with neither of us pushing to keep it alive, it looks like it will just kind of fizzle out. It is a pretty good practical arrangement for both of us right now. I care for the children and keep the house and cook and manage everything on the home front, and she works and gets a lot of downtime to pursue her hobbies. We both feel like we are getting what we need. There is no longer a significant physical relationship, but that's okay. I don't really want to be with her sexually anymore, so I don't feel neglected. Getting divorced would also severely compromise our finances right when we are getting on our feet. Staying only works in my favor, since the home is no longer a source of stress and I am free to pursue other relationships. Also, the longer I put off the divorce, the better it will be for me financially when I do file, so from a practical position I have no reason to divorce right now. So for now I am staying. I don't really care that she cheated on me anymore, or at least I have stopped reacting to it. I learned the lesson that she is not the person I imagined her to be. I still love my wife, but that betrayal hurts too much. I no longer want to do any of the husbandly things with her. She is more like a friend I live with. In the meantime, I have made a lot of new friends with my open marriage status, and I will be exploring things with them going forward. It turns out that telling women that you are married but available is the opposite of a deal breaker. My wife seems to not be pursuing anything outside of the marriage with anyone else, but I am not keeping track. It just doesn't matter to me anymore. Also, the number of women out there looking to cheat on their husbands is shocking. Don't worry, I would never be a party to that hurt, but holy shit is it scandalous. I had no idea, and it's all the same. Their stories could just be my wife telling them. They are bored, their life is stable, they want a spark. Blah blah blah. Go talk to your husbands and work through it, don't go fuck some guy in a nightclub. Just unmitigated selfishness. My trust in women has collapsed during this experience. So that's the update. My mental health is pretty good. I have weekly mental health appointments. I am physically doing very well and I feel peace starting to come back into my life again. My kids seem happy and we have been spending all summer playing sports together and video games and going to fun places and gardening. They love that their parents are getting along and that their mother isn't angry all the time and their father doesn't look like he is about to die from stress. My wife is happy in her work and with her hobbies, and our interactions are mostly positive. Our communication has gone from non-existent to acceptable, which is a huge step up. I don't have hope that my marriage can ultimately be saved, but right now it is a shelter for me, where I can rest and gather my thoughts, build my life how I like it. Sorry, I know there are a lot of people rooting for me, but honestly I am doing pretty well. I will keep you guys updated on any big changes. Until then, I wish you all the happiness that you can stand. Story 2. AITA for getting an abortion because my fiancé cheated on me? I don't know how to start this. My fiancé told me that he cheated on me for over a year now, and we've been together for 7 years total. He says he doesn't want to be together anymore, which broke my heart, and still has since we were high school sweethearts. His girlfriend was with him when he told me this, which made me even more upset since he didn't have the decency to tell me one-on-one. He let his girlfriend into our home, the one we bought together. Anyway, I wanted to tell him that I was pregnant on his birthday. Since his birthday is really close. He always wanted a family, a big family with at least 5 kids. I didn't want kids that much, but I didn't mind them either. The moment he told me we were over, I knew I didn't want that baby. I didn't want to co-parent or be a single mom, any of that. I have a good paying job, and that might make me selfish for not wanting the baby, but I don't care. I told him I was pregnant when he told me it was over, and he looked a little upset, like he regretted it or something. He told me was fine with split custody, and I didn't say anything. A few days later I got an abortion. I thought it was necessary to tell him and not lead him on, since I didn't want to see or talk to him ever again. He called me when I sent the text, saying, "Why the fuck would you do that?" And so on. He said I knew damn well he wanted kids, and I should have told him before even thinking about it. I feel selfish for doing what I did. But I feel like giving birth and overall having that kid would make me unhappy. I barely like kids, and the thought of having one with the man who broke my heart is not helping. I know this might be a stupid thing to post, but I feel like a jerk. He's the only one to know about the abortion but not the pregnancy. Hi everyone, it's around 6 hours later. And feel free to comment and respond to my comments and other replies. But I won't be updating or replying for a while. I just need to tell someone who is someone I know. But thank you to each and every one of you sweethearts giving me advice and more. I know that responding to the anti-abortion and "you're a killer" comments are not helpful to me right now. I will be back, and I will respond, and I will give you guys who are interested an update soon enough. I just need to take a break and not reply to the people trying to make me feel shame, remorse, guilt and all the above for my abortion. I feel like shit right now, so if anyone's able to message me in the next few hours, with some resources or anything, I'd greatly appreciate it. I will update you guys as soon as I can, and again, feel free to leave comments. And also, I absolutely did not get an abortion out of spite, revenge or to punish him for what he did. I didn't think about the abortion the moment he sat me down. I don't blame the baby, even if anti-abortions disagree with that. And I guess I do want some validation from at least strangers. Because I feel like I can talk to anyone, I feel horrible. So if I overreacted to your comment and whatnot, you're right I guess. I know this is a stupid post, but I thought I needed to consider his feelings and not just my own. Thanks, again. Story 3. AITA for kicking my ex out of my house and telling her parents she was cheating? For context, I and my now ex-GF were dating for 3 years. We met through mutual friends, and while we had known each other for some time, we didn't start dating for months after initially meeting and attending several events within our friends group. When we did start dating, I made it clear I was only interested in a monogamous relationship. I had no interest in sharing a partner not being shared. So for 3 years, we were exclusive, or at least I thought we were. Over this time we were both gainfully employed and both made good money. Yes, I made more money, but she was by no means a pauper. I had my own house, I purchased a nice fixer-upper and spent the better part of the last 4 years and most of my savings restoring and upgrading it. She helped me with some of the basic stuff like painting and cleaning, but most of the meaningful work was done by family and contractors. But I did appreciate that she wanted to contribute. Oh, and one other thing, I bought the house the year before we ever met. This is relevant. Well, at roughly our 3-year mark, her lease was about to expire and she suggested we move in together. I would be lying if I said I wasn't apprehensive, but I did feel it was time to move into the next stage of our relationship. I put on a smile and told her it was a great idea, so she made her plans just as the final work was being wrapped up on the house. I was putting solar panels, a tankless water heater, and water softener in. The same weekend I was enjoying my now finished home was also the weekend she moved in. She, along with all her girlfriends, did the moving. My house was full of clucking hens discussing how they were going to redecorate and turn my man cave into a house that reflected her style and taste. All while giggling as though I had no choice. One of my favorite possessions was my collection of vintage full-size arcade games from the 80s and 90s. I had 7 of them. They were all in my basement, of which I had also finished and painted to look like a pool hall and arcade. Even had a full wall bar with several flat screens. Several neons adorned the walls. While they moved, I, along with my 2 brothers, were hanging out in the basement shooting pool and watching a ball game. My 2 brothers are tradesmen, one is an electrician, the other a plumber. It's because of them we were able to do the rest of the house so cheaply. They hooked me up with other guys to help, and that evening most of them showed up at the house for a celebration of the job being done. When everyone arrived, we had a great time, grilling meat, drinking beer, and relaxing outside. The house was on 3 acres and included a detached garage. My then GF was about halfway through her move as the guests showed up, and most of the guys helped unload her boxes and in general get her stuff out of the way so we could all enjoy ourselves. Many were married and or had kids, so kids were running around and making a racket. It was a pretty cool scene. I even had a couple neighbors show up with beer and kids in tow. That's when it all came crashing down. Turns out my supposedly exclusive girlfriend came face to face with her FWB. He was the brother of my roofer. I am sure he didn't know about me, as made no effort to hide their relationship when he saw her with her girlfriends chatting it up in their little pod. I was at the grill flipping burgers as this guy I never met walked across the yard and came up behind her to give her a squeeze. Before I could even get mad, most of the girls were either warning her about her side guy showing up or looking at me to see if I saw what was happening. She had horror in her eyes and immediately turned to see me at the grill staring her down. She started crying right off, and her friends did their best to get rid of this now very confused guy and shield her by dragging her away. The poor guy was standing there and I was juggling my emotions trying to decide if rage was the right one to choose. Her best friend ran to me and told me it's not what it looks like. I hadn't even said a word or reacted yet and excuses were already flying. The brother was being yelled at by the girlfriends to leave while his brother was now involving himself. The whole circus was pretty entertaining to most of the guests, I am sure. My brother came and took over the grill, while my other brother got between me and the FWB. I was still in some kind of shock, I guess, because as all the dots were connecting I wasn't, according to my brothers, saying a word, just staring this guy down. My oldest brother said I looked like I was gonna kill him and my other brother said he was waiting to see if I was gonna make a move so he could tackle me. Well, to cut to the chase, I didn't lose my cool. I regained my composure and made my way to my basement. The party did not end either. Weeks later I recall thinking about how residential building guys aren't gonna leave when there is free beer and food. My brother came down to the basement with the FWB. He had talked to enough people to have a rough outline of what was going on. Turns out FWB and X had been hitting it for the better part of the last 2 years. He was unaware of me and came to the basement to apologize. Told me man to man he would never have hooked up if he knew she was in a committed relationship. That his ex-wife cheated on him and that's why he only has FWBs now, but never if they aren't single. She lied to both of us? I guess they work for the same company but in different locations and met at some big company sales event. Well, that's the summary of all that happened leading up to me kicking her ass out that night. She came back the next day with her hens saying she had a right to live in my house because she did so much work making it what it is. She also said I asked her to move in and she had to cancel her lease and take a loss, so she owed me that money too. Lastly, her circle of friends told me she didn't do anything wrong because we weren't even engaged, let alone married. That I was controlling and insecure, and I needed to man up. Now both of my brothers and her ex-FWB were still there, along with his brother. They crashed in the spare rooms and available couch space. When her ex-FWB came out, he started cursing her a blue streak and let the hens, whom he knew most of them, have a portion of his anger too. In no time it was 5 guys. My oldest brother's wife and my other brother's girlfriend all ganging up on the harpies. My sister-in-law is 5 feet tall, 90 pounds soaking wet with flaming red hair. She is scary as shit when she is mad. It was the first time I laughed since the drama began the day before. Well, my ex was scared and she and her friends took off. The guys rented a moving truck and we loaded all her stuff up and took it to her parents. I told her dad what happened and introduced him to the FWB. Now her dad was a good guy. He had only recently retired and was enjoying his time fishing with his grandkids. My ex had 2 brothers and a sister. She was the youngest and the only one not married with kids. She was his little princess and learning she cheated broke his heart. He cried and apologized to me as his wife came out and he had to retell what was going on. The mom was enraged that the FWB was even there and demanded it was all his fault and he better leave. We all left. Later that day, the bunch of us were cleaning up from the night's festivities when the EX showed up with her best friend in tow, screaming and cursing me for telling her parents. Saying her dad said she had 1 week to find a place to live because it wouldn't be under his roof. So, was I the a-hole for involving her parents? Story 4, AITA for blocking and silently moving on from my cheating fiancé. I, F31, dated my ex-fiancé Jose, M33, for 5 years, and we had been engaged for about 6 real months. We had a really good relationship. I thought he and I were going to end up being together for the rest of our lives and build a family. To make a long story short, I found out he had been cheating on me with a coworker for about 9 months, yes, before the engagement. At first, I was beyond mad, and my first impulse was to find ways to literally ruin his and her life. But honestly, after about 16 hours of thinking, and crying, about it, he was on a work trip. I figured anything I did would be a waste of time, and since my goal was to start a family, I felt like I didn't really have any more time to waste on someone who obviously isn't going to be in my life in the long term, or short term, so I just let go. I packed all my things, asked my dad to help me move them back into the family home so I could get situated, and literally just started moving forward with my life. I just let him have anything that was ours. Something about those items seemed foreign to me now, and I didn't really want to associate with it. I left the ring at the house. By about halfway through the second day, while I was moving my stuff, he started to really push the envelope on getting me on the phone, but I just continued to dodge. I had to undo some things. There were no joint bank accounts, but some other accounts, things that we shared, that I had to untangle, but our lives were pretty separate. By the third day, still without saying anything to him, I blocked him and asked my parents not to discuss anything with him. They, of course, knew what had happened. I told them they were more than welcome to maintain a relationship with him if they chose. My dad loved him, but I asked them not to discuss or talk about me at all. After his week-long business trip, he showed up at the house, but I told my dad I had nothing to say to him and to please get him to go away. Now, it's been about 2 weeks, and he hasn't been back since, so I've still not talked to him, still blocked. I feel like I've really made an effort to move on with my life. I'm touring nearby apartments and hope to have my own lease signed by the end of the month. I really just felt like there wasn't anything to talk about, and I didn't feel like I owed someone who would do something like that to me anything, even a conversation. This morning, while discussing my plans, etc., my parents basically sat me down and asked me to talk over everything with him. They figure I will regret it in the future, that mistakes happen, that without his confessions, I can't be 100% sure that he cheated, etc., etc. I told them that I didn't really want to waste any more time on the situation and that, while I was being selfish, I didn't think hearing his side would help me in healing in any way. My mom and I got into a pretty heated argument. Eventually, she told me she raised a more compassionate and caring daughter than that. Why do I owe a cheater anything? ATA? Edit. Saw some people asking. Sorry, forgot to mention how I found out. I'm 100% sure he was cheating. I was working on the downstairs computer when an email came through in Outlook. From what I knew, we had Gmail accounts. I clicked the tab and saw tons of recent emails of orders for a bunch of minor products, things like Lubrisil, KY, etc. I knew we weren't using anything like that, so instantly got suspicious. I started to look around the email a bit and didn't really find much. However, I wasn't reading anything sent from his company's work address, but eventually clicked into several emails. And yeah, the emails were pretty sexual and had times of them meeting up, going out, being intimate, etc. for the last 9 months. Story 5. AITA for confronting my sister about cheating with my husband based on what our mom told me. Part 1. My husband is cheating on me. I know this for certain. He's doing all the things a cheating spouse would do. He has taken off his location tracker, he has been ignoring me, staying out late with work buddies, has all the excuses for everything. I know what this is. I don't know with whom. But I know he is. I talked to my mom about this and she mentioned how my sister has been doing the same thing. I have 2 sisters, one is married and has kids, Ray, and the other is in her freshman year of college and still lives at home, Emma. Mom says Emma has been doing all the same stuff that my husband has been, and doing it at around the same time. Emma and my husband have always gotten along, but now that I look back it almost seems like they get along too well. My husband and I are expecting our first. It's been a good marriage until a few months ago when things started to get rocky. Then this. I confronted my sister this morning and she denied everything and called me an insecure bitch, but even insinuated it. I told her mom told me, and now my mom is upset because I threw her under the bus. Ray doesn't want any part of this mess. Update. It's now really late where we live. My husband has not come home. He has not answered his phone. I texted him multiple times and I know he has read the messages. But he won't answer his phone. I was going to talk to him about this when he got back, but he's not back yet. I don't know if he's coming back. As I said in a previous comment, I am 37 weeks pregnant. I have preeclampsia. My BP is skyrocketing. I'm trying to calm down. To everyone who said to get a PI, I have been on unpaid FMLA for the last month because of my BP complications. I have no money for anything other than this child. All of my savings are going towards my kid's future, and if there are further complications such medical bills, API is not in my budget. To the people who are telling me that I jumped to conclusions but also are telling me to get a divorce in the same breath, isn't a divorce also jumping to conclusions? Divorce is not in the budget either. I know how much lawyers cost. Part 2. My life is completely upended. It has been over 24 hours since I confronted my younger sister Emma about cheating with my husband. I was 1000% sure my husband was cheating with her based on what our mother told me yesterday. It turns out I was wrong. My husband did not come home last night. I know he reads my text messages because they are marked red. He ignores all of my calls though. I had no idea where he was. I got about 2 hours of sleep last night, and that was only because I was utterly exhausted. I woke up to my older sister, Ray, calling. I answered it. Ray lives in the cul-de-sac at the end of our parents' street, about 5 houses down. Ray is also a SAHM. Ray started by apologizing over and over again, which just made me nervous, and when I pressed her she said she was sorry for not telling me when she knew for certain that my husband was cheating with our mother. I will admit, I barely can remember what was said because of the shock, but I'm trying my best to write it to remember it for the future. Ray said that this has been going on for a few months, so that would be before me and him were actually married. She says that Emma would leave to go to night classes or hang out with friends, and about 20 minutes later my husband would pull up to our parents' house. He would stay there for an hour or two and then leave before Emma got back. Ray said this happened multiple nights a week now, whenever Emma and our dad were gone. Our dad works long shifts at night. He would have no idea. We know mom probably has location tracking for Emma, which is how they knew where she was. We don't know if Emma took that off yet. Emma obviously is not happy with me, so I can't ask her. The most damning thing is that mom went out last night and didn't return until the morning before dad got home from work. Ray texted her asking if everything was okay, and mom said that a friend of hers was sick and needed comforting. Emma also did not come home last night, but that's probably because she is pissed and hurt and needed to be around friends. I will apologize to her, but I can't without telling her what's going on. Ray keeps apologizing, saying that she just didn't want to get involved and it wasn't her business. She also called me an asshole for confronting Emma, and says that by doing that I'm tearing the family apart. She has forbidden me from telling dad, saying she'll never forgive me. I feel like dad has the right to know. I know how it feels to have someone do this to you and to have the information withheld. I'm not going to say anything until I have concrete evidence because I learned my lesson, but would I be the asshole if I told my dad and Emma what was happening? Update. I've had nothing but time to think. I've been alone in my house, reading comments, figuring out how I'm going to do everything. I'm overwhelmed and I'm fatigued inside out and am too tired to freak out anymore. My soon-to-be ex-husband called me. He sounded like he had been on a bender and was hungover. Slurring his words, repeating things. He said he's sorry, that he's a piece of shit, that he loves me, that he's on his way home. He turned on his location and did a check-in, so I know he is on the way headed towards my house, but I don't know where he was. Our mother has been unusually silent. Ray apologized again over text. I don't care anymore. I haven't talked to my dad or Emma. I'm not going to until I have something concrete. I don't want to be that person again. Addressing some comments. 1. Ray does use our mother for childcare. Could be a reason why she doesn't want to rock the boat. Probably the reason actually. 2. This is not the first time our mother has cheated on our dad. I remember back when I was around 11 they separated for a while. It was very traumatic for all of us. 3. I have an appointment with my OB later this week where we will discuss inductions. My BP has been hovering around 155/87 to 145/80. Swelling has been worse. I'm monitoring my health along with the baby. 4. The cul-de-sac is not a trailer park, though I did chuckle. It may as well be one now. 5. I am sure that in order to record him I need his consent. I'll work on that when he gets home. I have thoughts about how to do it. I'm trying to be smarter. Story 6. AITA for confronting my pregnant sister for cheating on me with my fiancé and ruining her relationship with another man. I'm a female, 37, who recently discovered that my fiancé, male, 43, has been cheating on me with my 33-year-old sister. To make things even worse, he's been stealing large amounts of money from our shared bank account to support their secret relationship. My sister is also pregnant with his child, and they were planning to run away to Hawaii together, leaving me behind. I discovered explicit messages and emails detailing their affair and plans. Additionally, my sister was in a long-term relationship with a 34-year-old man during all of this. I confronted them, and now I'm struggling with the aftermath. Here's how everything unfolded. A few weeks ago, I started noticing unusual and large withdrawals from our shared bank account. When I confronted my fiancé about these discrepancies, he was vague and dismissive, claiming the transactions were for personal expenses. This raised my suspicions, so I began investigating further. What I uncovered was far worse than I could have imagined. My fiancé had been siphoning off thousands of dollars for hotel stays, fancy dinners, and flights, all related to his affair with my sister. As I dug deeper, I found a series of explicit messages and emails between them, revealing not only their affair but also their plans to escape to Hawaii and start a new life together. The situation got even more complicated when I discovered that my sister is pregnant with my fiancé's child. This was a devastating blow, but it wasn't the end. I also learned that while all of this was happening, my sister was in a committed relationship with a 34-year-old man who had no idea about her affair or the pregnancy. When I confronted my fiancé and sister with the evidence, my fiancé tried to downplay it, claiming it was a mistake, and that he was confused. My sister attempted to justify her actions by saying she fell in love with him and didn't mean for things to get so complicated. I ended the engagement and cut ties with my sister. My fiancé has offered to reimburse the money he took, but the emotional and financial impact has been overwhelming. Friends and family have given me mixed reactions. Some think I should have tried to work things out with him, while others believe I did the right thing by severing ties. Story 7. My wife admitted to having a drunken one-night stand last week and it has turned me into a robot. I, male, 32, have been married to my wife Kate, female, 30 for 4 years, together for 9. Our relationship has been amazing, loving and supportive. We have good communication, hardly ever argue, and our bedroom life has gone from strength to strength over the years. We discussed cheating in the past and I was always clear that we would be over if it ever happened. Kate went home to visit her family last weekend, which was fairly normal. Before she left on Friday night, we had a minor argument about keeping the house tidy, so our communication was limited on Saturday, but I knew she was going out to meet some friends at a bar. I trusted her 100%, so didn't think anything of it. Before I fell asleep, I texted her saying that I hope she had a nice night. When I woke up on Sunday morning, I had a missed call from Kate at 4 a.m., so I immediately called her to check if she was okay, but no answer. After a few hours I tried again a few times, but still no answer. Around an hour later I got a message saying she was fine and was driving back soon. Kate got home late in the afternoon and looked awful. She had clearly been crying, was not wearing any makeup, unusual for her, and looked like a shell of a person. I knew right away something was wrong, but she wouldn't let me hug her and would barely speak. I sat her down on the couch and made her some tea. I gently encouraged her to tell me what was wrong, and she burst into uncontrollable tears for at least 10 minutes while I was trying to comfort her. She then proceeded to tell me, stopping every few words, that she had slept with someone last night after the bar. At that moment, something in my brain broke. I can't describe it any other way. I immediately got up and jumped in my car and drove off. I went to a park and walked around it for about an hour. Kate was calling my phone constantly and I turned it off. When I got home, I grabbed 2 suitcases from the garage and went to our bedroom. I threw some of Kate's clothes and shoes into them and left them by the front door. Kate was lying on the floor in the living room, curled up into a ball sobbing. I called her best friend who lives nearby and told her that Kate needed a place to stay and a ride to her place, and that Kate could explain everything to her later. I told Kate I was leaving for an hour and that her friend was coming to pick her up. She grabbed onto my legs trying to stop me from leaving. When I returned home again, Kate was gone and so were the cases. On Monday, with a clearer head, I answered one of Kate's many calls and told her that I needed her to send me an email with as much details as possible of that night, and if she leaves anything out, there will be no hope of reconciliation. I received this email on Monday night but still haven't opened it. Since then, everyone has been trying to contact me, but I have just been working, exercising and sleeping. One of her friends turned up at my house with an attitude demanding an explanation. I told her to speak to Kate and close the door in her face. I have also been speaking to divorce lawyers, have moved money into separate accounts and blocked Kate and all of her friends on everything. Everything I have done since I found out seems like I have been on autopilot. I don't feel angry, upset or overly emotional. Just numb. Kate posted a note through the door yesterday asking me to meet tomorrow, but I'm conflicted. Should I meet her? Will it change anything? Is there any point in trying to reconcile? Is it normal to feel like a robot, and how do I snap out of this? Edit. Just to add that when I came home the first time, Kate confirmed it was consensual. She was drunk but knew what she was doing. Story 8. AITA for cutting off my sister after she called out my husband for a 10-year-old affair. Edit. You really don't need to DM me, that you hope my husband cheats on me again and that I am a spineless idiot and all of that. I know I am not. I am just going to delete those DMs and not look at them. Save your breath. Also, just to clarify, what bothered me was not the snooping in itself. That is something that I could have talked through with her. It's divulging some very personal traumatic stuff. I am talking about one of the worst things that can happen to a young boy. Making fun of it and not listening to me when I told her that I knew and we worked through it. It's the fake outrage that is just hurting me and not helping. 10 years ago, when my then fiancé, now husband, and I were 22 and 23, he actually cheated on me. He had an emotional affair with a fellow student. When he admitted to it, I was devastated, and we separated for a while. During that time, I had an amazing therapist who helped me through the whole thing. I had been in therapy for a while, and she suggested I bring my partner into some sessions. The reason was simple. If we decided to stay together, it would help us work through it, and if I decided to end things, it would help me come to peace with it and not obsess over it. Honestly, the sessions were incredible. If any of you are in a similar situation, I highly recommend doing what I did. Especially if you have a therapist who's unbiased and can really help you understand complex emotions and situations. About 3 sessions in, we discovered that both of us were more complicated than we had realized. There was something deeply broken in my partner that he didn't even know about at the time. I won't say too much about it, but we uncovered the root cause of his behavior, which involved trauma from his past. He started therapy himself, and my therapist referred us to a couples counselor. We went through a lot of therapy. At one point, our individual sessions weren't even about our relationship anymore, But about ourselves. We stayed separated during this time. Luckily, we had space. We lived in a rented house where we each had our own room. We built the relationship back up from zero. Honestly, less than zero. I wanted to do that because I loved him deeply, and I believed it was worth the effort. I came out of that time a more fulfilled person. I saw that our relationship had been suffering from certain things, and I also learned that some of those issues were due to my own unresolved trauma as well. I didn't realize how much I had buried my emotions from my childhood until therapy helped me see it. And through it all, my partner stood by me. It's been 10 years since all that happened, and we're very happy now. We've moved from a rented house to owning an apartment, and we have 2 amazing cats and a tiny, socially anxious dog. One important thing is that I never told my family about his affair. I've never felt comfortable with them. They use everything against you, even positive things, and spin it to make you feel terrible. Plus, I didn't know where I stood when it first happened. I didn't want anyone influencing my decision. My siblings are the type who say cheaters deserve to be punished, and my parents are the kind who think cheating is just something men do. I wanted to make my own choice. So here's what happened recently. My sister lost her job and decided to move to my city. She stayed with us for a month while going to job interviews and apartment viewings. During this time, my husband and I decided to take a short vacation, and my sister offered to look after the pets and the apartment while we were gone. We came back last week, and my sister was sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of printed papers. The moment we walked in, she threw water in my husband's face and started screaming at him. I managed to calm her down and asked her what the hell was going on. She told me she found out about his affair and showed me proof. It was indeed proof of his affair from 10 years ago. She had somehow found his old therapy notes, written diary style, from right after the affair happened. He had already shown them to me years ago, so I knew exactly what they said. I explained to her that this was all old news, that we had worked through it, and that we were in a good place. But she wouldn't accept that I had forgiven him. She kept yelling at him, calling him a disgusting liar, among other insults. Then she crossed a line. She started mocking his past trauma, the same trauma we had uncovered during therapy. These were 2 very serious incidents from his childhood and young adult life, and she told him he deserved everything that had happened to him and more. That was the last straw. I was absolutely furious, not only because she violated his privacy by reading his therapy notes but because she mocked his trauma so cruelly. On top of that, she told the entire family about both his affair and his trauma, which was a deeply personal issue that she had no right to share. Now, my whole family knows, and they've been harassing me nonstop. I told my sister she had crossed a huge boundary, and that I needed space from her. I asked her to leave, and now my family is upset with me, saying I'm overreacting and that she was just looking out for me. But from my perspective, she had no right to interfere in something that happened 10 years ago, that we had already resolved. Plus, the way she ridiculed my husband's trauma was beyond cruel. So, am I the asshole for cutting her off after she called out my husband for cheating, mocked his trauma, and told our family about everything? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give a like, share it with someone, and subscribe for more stories that inspire, provoke, and connect us. Thank you.